You know what's fascinating is I really do think that the left is a cult. I don't know what's more demented, the puppet president or the people who vote for him. Well, good morning. We went from steady rain for the last 24 hours to big puffy clouds and beautiful blue sky. I call this a nice day. You know, I heard an interesting quote today, followed by a somewhat frightening statistic. And the quote was, "The sacred collapses into the political, and the political becomes sacred for the people who are not religious." Okay, I get it. The Church of the Left is your new doctrine. Well, it turns out, for the first time in our nation's history, barely 50% of our population consider themselves religious. Well, since I don't have a lot of dogs today, if you don't mind me, I've just got something I'm curious about. I'm just going to talk this out. It was Joe Rogan, Bobby Lee on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about politics of today, and they brought up an interesting point that, to me, to some of you, the 90s was a time you were either too little to remember or you weren't alive. To me, it was yesterday. And I remember positions that I had as a younger man, and Rogan said, you know, back in the day, I always considered myself to be on the left. But it wasn't until recently people are accusing me, my positions haven't changed. And Adam Carolla, I'm going to put Adam Carolla in the same boat. He always said when he was younger, he considered himself to be a liberal, but his positions didn't change. It's the goal markers shifted. They moved the chains down the field. Suddenly, what he used to consider himself to be on the left, a liberal, now today he's ultra MAGA. And he's like, where did this happen? I didn't change. And that's got me wondering, is the leftist movement, and I'm talking the neo-Marxist, hardcore, probably demonically inspired leftist movement, is it less of a political stance and more of a cult? You know, when people do not have, human beings seek and yearn for spiritualism. Who knows? Maybe it's in our genetic coding. Maybe it's just us always wondering what is beyond. And if you do not have a spiritual foundation, fundamentally, you're going to seek one out. Has leftism become the cult for so many, become like a cult for so many people? Because I can't understand how people on the left can support these views that are so hypocritical to everything. And I'll give you an example. And I saw this a number of years ago, a group of people I was associated with, and they were younger people, and there was this big movement, and they were even making little stickers and buttons, and it would say, "Punch a fascist in the face." Well, who do you define as fascist? And because, you know, no, I don't like fascism. I don't like totalitarianism. I don't like authoritarianism. Yeah. But who do you define as fascist? How do you go from the Berkeley free speech movement to punch a fascist in the face? And the only way that they define people being fascistic are those they don't agree with. So going around virtue signaling, saying, I'm such a good person, look, I'm wearing my punch a fascist in the face button. But people you disagree with, you believe that you should use violence to censor them? Isn't that being a fascistic person? Also, If you're against censorship, which I am, how do people who are against censorship support censoring people they disagree with? You can't even have a conversation. If you bring up anything that's contrary to what Rachel Maddow tells you how to believe, I've literally seen grown-ass adults shove their fingers in their ears. You can't even have that conversation. That's not logical. And that's not coming from a position of light or truth. I'm constantly looking at myself going, is what I believe, is that good? Is it harmful? And I'm questioning myself. But when I see, especially some of these younger people who are believing these insane radical notions, and yet they're blind to the fact that their party is doing this. How do you go from being a useful idiot for Occupy Wall Street? You're defecating on squad cars and women were being raped in their tent encampments, and somehow you're going to bring down the banking system, and then the next moment, fast forward 10 years, now you're cheering when federal agents are doing search warrants on President Trump. Oh, now you're supporting the federal government? That is something I found with the left, especially the Democrat elites. They are the party of projection. They are the people they accuse everyone else of being. Well, on that happy existentialist note, I don't really know how I'm going to fix any of this. I don't intend to. I'm just stating my question for the universe and putting it out here in a manner to improve every aspect of my life. And this is just part of the process. So, I appreciate you tagging along, mentally exercising along with me. So long as I'm not abducted, thrown into a cave, forced to watch shadow puppets, I'll see you on the next one.